Sunday, May 11th, 2025. Happy weekend, everybody. Let's go ahead and dive on into this. You know the drill. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, all of that. Another gem from Axel Adler here. Really loving his stuff and really loving this chart. Very helpful. Very, very helpful. So, Axel, Delta measures how far Bitcoin's market cap is above the average price at which coins last changed hands. Historical data over the past 4 years show that investors start taking profits once Delta hits about 170%. In other words, if Delta climbs another 58 percentage points to 170%, a notable sell-off becomes very likely. Right now, the market is hot, corrections are behind us, and Bitcoin looks set for a new rally. So what are we looking at here? Okay, early 2021, this metric flashed much higher than where it is right now. No doubt about it, 296%. But ever since then, and what I would say is, that was the last real euphoristic peak. So if we're not going to reach the kind of level of euphoria that we reached in early 2021 or 2017, what you would logically expect would be then a move up to this 170% level, which you can see we hit that in November of 2021 and October of 2021, October and November of 2021, couldn't break through it. We did the same thing in March of 2024, and then we came very close to that, didn't quite hit it in December of 2024. So, what is this next move? What is this? I have a hard time believing that this, let's say we get up to $120,000, 100 teens, something like that for Bitcoin. I have a hard time believing that this is the moment where all the stars align and Bitcoin goes a lot higher and altcoins, we have the big alt season. If that's the case, if I'm right about that, then what we're going to do most likely is get somewhere around this 170% level for Bitcoin realized in market capitalization. And so 170% level, just keep that in mind, because the last three peaks have felt very similar in the fact that they weren't quite euphoria, but they were something. They were a moment in time where Bitcoin did something exciting. And so, okay, what does that look like? Well, you can see a response here to that. What Bitcoin price would be that 120 to 125K. So let's go back to that chart. You can also see here, look guys, look at this. End of 2021, we actually got a little bit higher than 170%. Early 2024, we got barely that 170% level. End of 2024, we barely missed that 170% level. So if you were to draw a trend line from here, maybe the exact level is more like 160, 165%, which would put us probably more like 115 to 120 for a local top for Bitcoin. This is how I'm going to play it. This is the most important chart in this video. This is the most important chart you should be paying attention. One of the most important charts you should be paying attention to. Just keep this in mind. And if we're wrong, great, let's ride it. We'll ride it up to way higher than that. Bitcoin will have a big alt season. Sounds great. But personally, my opinion, I want to play this a little bit more conservatively for this particular time of the year. Now, interesting chart here. Never would have thought this. Interesting chart. You could see a bit of a fractal forming. Not saying that it's going to follow this perfectly, but something. We have Timothy Peterson N squared value here. We have Bitcoin on pace for a new all-time high in 3 to 6 weeks from May 7th. So 2.5 to 5.5 weeks. You can see if it's going to follow this fractal, what's the thing here? So the VIX, the NASDAQ, the average NASDAQ recovery from March of 2009 to April of 2020, after the VIX goes above 55 and then comes back down, and we have adjusted for Bitcoin beta equals 1.33. You can see here that we're following along, trading days elapsed, and the green circle would be all-time high above $107,000. I don't know why he says new all-time high equals 107. It was closer to 109. It was actually above 109 on the inauguration day. And so what if we're going to follow that? And then, hey, what if we just continue to follow this NASDAQ thing? It doesn't have a price projection for where that would lead us, but hey, something something worth paying attention to. In yesterday's video, I did talk about the VIX, and I talked about, according to one chart, there being a 94% chance that the bottom was in when you base it off of the VIX, the bottom of the stock market. I have been of the opinion that whatever rally we've had over these last few weeks, that it would not hit a new all-time high, but who knows? Maybe it'll be a V-shaped recovery, and maybe Bitcoin will follow along accordingly. Next, we have the short-term holder MVRV score is trending up and approaching the break-even line. Z equals 0. It's right now at negative 0.39. This means short-term holders are nearing a point where their cost basis equals the market price, a key zone for market psychology. Historically, regaining this level often leads to strong bullish continuations. So you can see, just be mindful, you can see plenty of times where we got up to this level and then got rejected there. So will we break out? Will we have some sort of a move above 0 here? I tend to think yes. What does that mean? Where does that take us after this? I mean, we'll see. But the last move for Bitcoin over $100,000 was a very explosive move for short-term holders. Maybe we would see something maybe not as significant as that, but something where, I guess, we would go above 0 on this, but plenty of other times historically when we've gotten rejected, so just keep that in mind. Oh, Ethereum. This is brutal for Ethereum, although, you know, there are some signs that Ethereum is going to reverse in its Bitcoin pair here. But, oh man, every time, this is mapping out every time Bitcoin hit 100K, what Ethereum's price was. Yikes. So the first time it was 4,000, second time 3,900, third time 3,700, blah, you know, lower, and then finally 2,000. My goodness. I tend to think that this is going to be the lowest price for Ethereum this time around, with Bitcoin hitting $100,000. That, let's say, you know, we get up to 115, we go below $100,000, that Ethereum will be higher than $2,000. But man, what a rough stretch this was for ETH. Moving on. All right, Mr. Crypto, the biggest bull on X. Hey, you know what? This is a compelling case for altcoins. This is a compelling case for altcoins. What are we seeing? An inverse head and shoulders. And I do, yeah, we can make note of this, that head and shoulders, you see the trend line here, that's pretty typical for an inverse head and shoulder, or a head and shoulder that it would be a little bit diagonal like what we're seeing here. And so you can see a breakout of the altcoin market cap. And where do we go from here? Well, you know, Mr. Crypto seems to think that we're going to go much higher, but still, you know, breakout, that's a good sign, a very good sign for continued growth in the altcoin market cap. Moving on, we have almost 1 year to go. Excuse me, blah, blah, blah. Commodities to equities ratio versus US dollar. And you guys should know by now where I stand, what's going to outperform over the next decade, 10 to 15 years maybe. In my opinion, is commodities are going to outperform equities, and it's not even going to be close. But almost exactly 1 year ago, Jay Powell said, "I don't see the stag nor the inflation." And I mentioned this on my live stream with Devin last week, that you need a filter to process anything Jerome Powell says. So he says I don't see the stag nor the inflation, and yet what do we see here? We see potential evidence for stagflation, maybe even hyper-stagflation moving forward. Today, the Fed's projections anticipate both. So Jerome Powell a year ago says he didn't see the stag nor the inflation. Today, the Fed's projecting both. You know, inflation with a stagnant economy. This is a timely reminder that we're still grappling with a rare trifecta of macro imbalances: inflation like the 1970s, government debt levels resembling the 1940s, and equity valuations as stretched as in the late 1920s. Yikes. None of us own enough hard assets, in my view. Hard assets, gold, real estate, etc. Is Bitcoin a hard asset? Maybe a little bit less volatile than where it is right now. But look at this commodities bottom compared to the tech bubble 2.0. I do like that. I mean, if that's true, that this is actually a tech bubble, and we'll see, you know, but I expect a significant recovery in commodities and a move down in the tech stocks in comparison to gold, priced in gold. So keep that in mind. Another big thing to pay attention to. Moving on, we have the great Martis, eventually on a long enough timeline, very, very bearish. But, he's laid out these two different projections for the NASDAQ and where we're going to go. Are we going to put in a lower high, or are we going to put in a final blow off top a la 1999, like what we saw during the dot-com bust, when it looked like it was over in 1998, and then it definitely was not over. We had one big rally and closed in a blow-off top level in 1999, and then it was over. Either way, it is going to be over. It's just a matter of how soon is it going to be over. Is it going to be over like very soon, as in very, very soon, or is it going to be over towards the end of this year? We will see, but whatever the case, after that, it's going to be over in a big way. And in my opinion, things are going to go much slower. So hopefully, let's hope for the latter, right? Let's hope for the big blow off top, which would certainly move into stocks and move into crypto and would move into altcoins as well. But we will see. Interesting. So Subu Trade here, mentioned him a few times in this video. AAII Bears is now at 51.5%. This is 11 straight weeks with more than 50% bears, a new record. Despite the rally, bears won't give up. Now, it has gone down a little bit, but greater than 55%, greater than 50%. That is significant. It seems this is a weird thing that I'm having to evaluate is, I've been of a mindset that I was going to be a bear after the first rate cuts. And seeing stuff like this, seeing the bearish sentiment being a little bit excessive, and seeing the reasoning why people are so bearish has a lot to do with tariffs, which I don't quite agree with, that should be the reason why you're bearish. It gives me reason for pause. Like, the masses are rarely right. The overreaction, this is an overreaction, no matter even if the tariffs are terrible, this is an overreaction. What we're experiencing right now with the tariff fears is not worse than other crises that have shown up. It's ridiculous. And so how do we process that? I don't know, but it's something. And so do the bears lose? Do these bears lose? And if so, well, I guess I'm along with them, because I've been bearish for the remainder of this year at least, but I'm bearish for an entirely different reason that they're bearish. So just a weird spot to be in. I don't know. Just going to, as always, let the market lead us and exit on signs of weakness. But last but not least, interesting here, Guilherme Tavares. A lot of people who I commonly post their stuff here. Nvidia. We've seen lots of charts showing money supply and Bitcoin, showing M2 money supply and Bitcoin, with M2 money supply leading by around 3 months. Nvidia has been very correlated with M2 money supply. So does that mean that Nvidia is going to move higher as well and hit new all-time highs, well beyond new all-time highs in June and July? All right, we'll see. And then let's see this tweet here. What about after July? Liquidity air pocket. And what about other countries that like to buy assets? I don't know what this person's saying. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't intend on clicking on this tweet here, but anyway, will Nvidia follow the M2 money supply chart? Will it deviate? We will see. But anyway, that is all I have for today. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I will most certainly be seeing you in another video. Peace.